Yes, sir. This is the most important, I guess. After topic selection and stuff, the real things are here, which is literature review, proposal writing, and then IREB approval. So yes, definitely. Is my screen visible?
Yes. I think we should start.
Wait, let me just. Can you give me a sec?
Okay.
How many participants are here? I think
11.
let's wait 5 minutes more. We have
Okay.
shared it in the groups, right? I think Shaheen, start.
Greeting, ladies and gentlemen, and a warm welcome you all to this webinar titled Proposal Writing and Ethical Approval Made Simple. I am Muhammad Shahir, second year MBBS at Khyber Medical College and your moderator for today's session. It is the third webinar of 6-episode webinar series, Foundation of Research, conducted by Khyber Medical College, KMC, conducted by SRC KMC in order to equip young students with full understanding of research. In previous webinar, we discussed about research, its type, and how to craft a research idea. And in this webinar, you would learn about proposal writing, how to make a stellar research proposal, and how to do literature search and getting ethical approval for your research. We have three outstanding speakers for this webinar. First, we have Sundus Huma. She is also the current president of Student Research Committee, Student Research Committee, Khyber Medical College. She has done multiple types of research studies from cross-sectional to systematic review to narrative review. Her presentation would focus on research proposal, how to write a research proposal, its do's and don'ts, and hands-on practice would also be a part of her presentation. After that, the second speaker is Sunnia Shah. She is a final year student at Khyber Medical College with a vast experience in researching, with having won numerous awards in research conferences, and is also a research mentor. Her presentation would focus on literature search, how to make a search string, and how to do a formal literature search in PubMed and other databases. She would also be doing hands-on practice. The last, but not the least speaker of today's session is Anusha Azhar. She is also a final year student at Khyber Medical College and has immense experience in field of research. She was the director of first ever international research conferences held at KMC. And she is also a research mentor. The topic of her presentation would be how to get an IRB or ethical approval and what things to keep in mind while applying for ethical approval. Before we formally start the session, I would like to state a few guidelines. This meeting is being recorded, and by attending it, you consent to being recorded. Kindly use your real and full name for the sake of transparency and in order to get certificate. Please keep your microphones off all the time, and the question would be answered at the end of this session. And if you have any question in the middle of this session, kindly type it in the chat box. It will be answered at the end. Thank you. Now, over to you, Sundus.
Thank you so much for those kind words, Shahid. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Sundus Huma, and I am from fourth year medical student of Khyber Medical College, currently serving as the president of the Student Research Committee at KMC. Talking about the foundation of the research, it is, being a part of it, it is really a proud moment for me today as I'm sharing this session with Sunnia, Anusha, two of the most finest researchers in KMC, and, the whole SRC team, including our faculty, Dr. Iqbal, Dr. Jihan, Dr. Suleiman, everybody dreamt of this course. And we literally were like not expecting such good audience and such a good response. And, so it's essentially a proud moment right now. So I'm really thankful for you all to tune in, and we already had laid a very good foundation. Two of the very good researchers of KMC, Muhammad Ahmed and Muhammad Awais, already had started with the topic selection and different types of researchers. They explained it very well. Right now, we're gonna move forward with it, and with the next step, that is the research proposal writing. I am going to talk about briefly, and so. You know what? Research proposal is the thing that in the previous webinars we talked about. How to select a topic, how to explore your interest in different fields, and then go with it, and then start your research on it, and everything is right now in your head. Like, okay, I am interested in neurology. I am, for example, interested in endocrinology, and I have a topic in my mind, and that pops up in my head. And now I really wanted to explore, and I really wanted to contribute to it. So whatever things that are in your head, you need right now to proposed it or write it in a very systemic way, and that systemic way is called as research proposal or synopsis, basically, right? So you write all those things that were in your head that are a bit haphazard, so you write it in systemic way. So it's gonna make your life even easier. It's not only for the IRB approval or anything else for the documentation and stuff. It is going to make your life easier because you need to write every single thing. It's like a plan of actions for your whole tenure that we make. For example, I'm a president, I have to make a whole plan of actions. So I'm going to do this in my tenure, I'm going to do this in my tenure, and I made a whole calendar of the whole whatever I'm going to do in this year. So this is the whole thing about your research project that you are actually aiming for. So you want to write them in a systemic way, and there is a very official way for it. So today I'm going to talk about those components, right? So we will, at the end of this session, you all will be, inshallah, able to understand certain key components of a well-structured research proposal. You will be, identify certain ethical considerations. We have already talked about it in, our last webinar in very detail. So I'll just go a bit in it, right? And then we will differentiate a bit between certain study designs, like specifically we will have to focus on cross sections since it's a very beginners friendly course, and it's like for those people who doesn't know anything about research. So like it's a very basic level, so we have to go alongside it, right? Then we will interpret a sample research, and then we'll use certain Gantt charts and timelines, your plannings regarding your research project. So we will be doing everything in detail in this, right? Then we will have a hands-on experience as well. We're going to calculate sample size. Sample size is one of the most, it made a certain researchers, certain beginner researchers stuck at point that they do not know where to go now, right? So sample size, we're going to have a whole hands-on. We're going to calculate a sample size for a particular study as well, right? Then we are going to explore basic tools for reference management and research planning. Yes, so, right. What is the purpose of a research proposal? As I discussed, Abhi, in detail also, that it is, it's a framework for your study, for your whole planning that was in your head. Now you have to detail it in a certain paper, in certain form, in a systemic way. What are your methodology? What is your research about? What are the significance of your research endeavors? So like these things, these questions are basically answered in this research proposal. That is what is my research about? For example, I was having this, and since we talked about in the last sessions as well, that you need to have very good observation skills to like explore what you are interested in, right? So for example, I was doing this electives in the endocrinology department, for example, and there were certain patients whose dietary patterns were, leading them to very high HbA1c level, for example, and certain patients who are in good diet control stuff, so their HbA1c level were low. So, this thing popped up in my head. Okay, is there any pattern associated with this HbA1c level or good glycemic control, for example? So this thing came in my head. So this is what I am going to do research on. These things, when we pop up, and that depends upon your observation skills, etc. Then why am I going to do this research? It's because I am interested. And then we, you'll have to go and search the literature. We have a whole, detailed session on it as well. We'll have a hands-on as well on the literature, So literature review is a very, very significant part of writing a research proposal, as well as, going, start up with the research as well, your research as well. So why am I doing this research? Is there any gap, particularly in the research field, in that particular field, that nobody had ever talked about? Or like, is there anything I can contribute to? So this is all about the why part. Then how am I going to do the research? So this comes under the methodology portion, like, how am I going to do research? Do I have a specific design in my head? For example, Ahmed talked about different designs, right? I wanted to do a cross-sectional study, right? And I wanted to see this HbA1c level with the glycemic control, right? So this is a cross-section study. This is how am I going to do. So I have to, put it in my research proposal. Then who am I going to do research on? So it's very clear, type 2 diabetes mellitus patients. Since I was doing an endocrinology of that thing, and I saw those type 2 DM patients, and then thing came in my head. Then when am I going to do research? So this is also a very important part of the, your research proposal, that you have to like give a timeline, of proposed timeline, that okay, I'm going to do this research in this proposed timeline, for example, from June 2025, then I have to complete it December 2025. And like by completing, I mean that I have to like complete my whole research, and I have to submit it to a journal. So you need to like put every single thing here. That is what I'm saying, that it is going to make your life easier for your future, in your research project. So then where am I going to do this research? That depends upon you. And we had a brief talk in the last session on it as well, that you need to keep a good focus on your things, on your research project, on the areas that you want to work on. So that is because it's good for you, because in the it is gonna make your life easier, because the more the focus the research study, the easier the calculation and the sample sizes, and then a certain data collection, that is very easier than Keegan. So then we have, yeah, as I said, okay, whether you are a novice researcher or a seasoned scholar, this art of crafting this very good research or compelling research proposal, that is vital not only for the IRAB approval, which is basically the approval for data calculation, data collection, etc., and also for certain good projects that are high level that needs funding. So you need a very compelling research proposal for that, so that you get the proposal funding you want, right? So now we move towards the important part, that is the pro components of the proposal writing. So we have, these are the components of different proposal writing that we're going to talk about in detail, each one: the title, the authors, introduction and objectives, methodology, ethical consideration, timeline, and references. So first thing first, that is title. So this is the very first thing, and this is the most important thing, I think, for a reader, not a writer, but for a reader this is the most important thing, because when a reader is going through your research, for example, it is published and a reader is going through it, so the first thing it sees is your title. So the more concise is it, the more good or focused it is, the more good for a reader it to use it and to cite it and stuff. So this title needs to be very concise, and it captures the essence of your research project. So there are certain steps to formulate a good title. When I said I was doing the electives, and these two things pop up in my head, like, okay, HbA1c, and then particularly this glycemic control and dietary habits, right? So these two things came in my mind for the very first thing. So these are my variables, like main variables. You need to identify your key variables and concepts, and these key variables are basically those first things that pop in your head for the very first time when you are observing, or you are like literally going for anything, right? So these are the things that pop up in your head. You have to identify them very well. Then the scope is very much attached to the variables. For example, which area these patients are from. So I was checking the glycemic control, and for example, and the dietary patterns. So definitely I am going for type 2 diabetes mellitus patient. So that is my scope. And this is again the same thing, that you need to be very focused on your scope, and you do not want to make it very generalized, not really focused, like make it mediocre level. And then we have study design. Yeah, this is also a very thing which is optional. You keep your study design in your title. You do not keep it, but the more if you keep it, it's more good, right? So it makes the life of the reader easier, the life of the people that are using your research easier. For example, if I'm doing a systemic review and meta-analysis, and I have to screen a lot of articles, and then I go through the title and I found, okay, this is systemic review. Oh, this is not in my inclusion criteria. I'm not going to take it. So this is, making other people's life easier when you keep the study design also. Then there are certain tips, certain tips for it, which is be very specific about the population, intervention, and outcome, avoid very unnecessary words and redundancy, seek feedback from peers and mentors. Peers and mentors, feedback is really important, because if you're at beginners level, you literally need a mentor at every stage to keep a check on everything, so you don't mess up at the end and then you have to do it everything again. So yeah, a mentor is very important. Then we had certain examples I've put it in here, the first example, and along with the steps. So first is like association between sleep duration and academic performances among medical students in Peshawar, which is a cross-sectional study. So what are the main variables here? Sleep duration and academic performances. These are the two variables that pop up in that particular medical student head when they were thinking, okay, we can associate these two, and those were the variables that he came up or she came up with. Then scope is definitely of medical students, to be precise, because medical students academic performances, that matters a lot to them, so their sleep duration is it might associate with it. Then a study design. So we discussed that we're doing a cross-sectional study, which is the easiest one, since we're checking out some categorical variables, and we're calculating proportion as well. So yeah, Then we have example number 2 here. It's a randomized control trial. Efficacy of a dietary patterns on glycemic control in patients with type 2 diabetes. This is actually the same thing that I explained recently. That is, main variables will be dietary patterns and glycemic control. So I was doing the electives, and in my mind, this thing came that, okay, dietary patterns can be associated with, the glycemic control that we check through HbA1c, right? And then scope, patient with type 2 diabetes, and study design is randomized controlled trial, right? So then names and affiliation. You need to write or mention the full names and affiliation of all the authors. It might get controversial sometimes, affiliations, but it's a very beginner friendly advice that do not go after having a first position or second authorship, etc. At this very level. You might care about all these things when you have done certain good amount of research. But at the very start, take every position, take any position. Like, even if you get the last position and the people are good, like the mentors and the researchers in that particular studies are good, just take that. You will learn something, you will get motivated to do even more research. I myself started my own research like that. I won't care if I get the last position or the final. If I won't care if I get table making for any particular study or anything. I would just directly, take the position or take the work, and then I would learn it, and then I would apply it in the other studies. So this is how you keep moving with it. So these are the names, affiliations, and you have to identify your principal author in it, right? Then we have introduction, right? So now you start with the real thing. So you need to do a brief literature review to write your introduction. And the literature review is going to be discussed by Sunnia, in the next part. So for that, you went through the literature, for example, now, and now, okay, what is the background of my study? So you need to write that with the rationale. That is, you explain what is already known about the particular research that I'm doing, right? And why is that study needed? You need to check, is there any particular area that nobody has worked on in the past? Now, this space is open for me. I can contribute, and by contribution, I mean, it's for clinical significance. Certain people can take help from it in clinical point of view, in certain aspects, right? So by that thing, you need to write your rationale that very way, and you definitely write certain recent literature or statistics. This enhance your introduction quite well. Then we move towards the overview of the research problem. So what was your research problem? What came up in your head? That is, you need to define it here. Like, you need to define the issue you are addressing. Like, I am looking at the glycemic control, or I'm looking at the people's sleep deprivation association with the academic performances. So this is the problem that I'm looking at. And is there any controversy, debate, or inconsistency in the current findings, and that you are specifically working on in your methodology? So you need to specify all those things as well here. And again, that depends upon your literature review. The more the good the literature review, the more good you write your introduction. You write it with references. I'm going to talk about at the end that how you're going to cite and how you're going to use references of different style. And then, so you need, if you go through certain research and you find it good, and you can include this in your introduction, you save it with yourself, but then you give reference to that particular study. And research hypothesis, right? So this is important part. Like, you need to state a very clear testable prediction based on your background. And Sir Jahan also talked about it in the other session, that we have for analytical studies, we have for the size, that X is associated, for example, with Y. I'll give example for it as well. And for descriptive studies, it is not very necessary. That a hypothesis may not always be needed, right? So as we discussed recently, the cross-section study, we do not have certain hypothesis for it. We just said, okay, there might be an association, and we just are going to go for it, right? Then the hypothesis is, like, for example, we check the efficacy of certain drug, for example, sulfalazine, right, in reducing the mortality in rheumatoid arthritis patients, right? So we are basically going to come up with a question in our head. Okay, the question is that, yes, sulfalazine, we hypothesize that, yes, sulfalazine is basically reducing the mortality in rheumatoid arthritis patient group, right? And this is our hypothesis, right? That, okay, there is an association between these two things, right? And then our result will come up and we need to trace it with this hypothesis. And if, it comes out to be like matching with the hypothesis, then we say that, okay, our alternative hypothesis is basically correct and our null hypothesis was rejected. So, these all aspects come in biostatistics and epidemiology. You need to check. So for the beginners level, for you start up with a descriptive study, and it is not necessary that a hypothesis may not always be needed. Then we move towards the objectives. So the objective of the study, you need to divide the primary and secondary outcomes if needed. So the primary outcome is the must thing, and then secondary outcomes, if needed, you can put it as well. For example, for the stereotype study, we have the main thing that we were looking at, mortality. So that is our primary outcome. We were checking, okay, is there any, decrease in the mortality related to this particular drug? So that is our primary outcome, and you keep them very clear, concise, and very measurable. Then we have the most important part over here. That is basically the methodology, right? So these are the headings related to the methodology portion. The first thing first is basically study design. Right. So, you need to specify. This was all the thing that we already did in the title portion as well. So it's easy now. You need to identify, specify that I'm using a cross-section study and I'm working on a cross-section study. That is my study design. Then what are the study settings and what are the study duration? So yeah, the study setting is that where and when the study will take place. For example, the study of that particular medical students will be taking place at KMCs. That is where it is taking place. And then it is going to take place from June to September. So that is the one timing. Then we had study population. So study population is defined. You define the target group, like all undergraduate medical students currently enrolled at KMC. We're studying on them. We can generalize it as well, like we are looking at particular medical students in the whole Peshawar, right? So we're looking at every institution. We can do that also. Then we have inclusion and exclusion criteria. So this is the thing that you specify, or it depends upon your methodology, and it depends upon your study population as well, that what kind of people you are taking in, and that particular study population, you need to specify things. For example, we were studying on research that is, we were checking the sensory neural hearing loss in a type 2 diabetes mellitus patients. We were checking, okay, is there any association between these two? And then we specified that, okay, there are the inclusion criteria will contain all the people that have type 2 diabetes mellitus. And we know that type 2 diabetes mellitus is greater than 30 years age. They are like, a type 2 diabetic, right? Before that age, we particularly have type 1. So we will add that inclusion criteria contain type 2 diabetic mellitus greater than 30 years age. Right. Certain stuff like that. And then exclusion criteria, you mentioned that, okay, the sensory neural hearing loss must be through this particular type 2 diabetes mellitus disease, not certain other way, like a certain person has some ear infection, so we exclude those out, even if they are type 2 diabetes mellitus patient. That can create biases. So this methodology portion needs to be really good. You need to be really precise about every single thing, so to reduce biases, right? And that will make your life easier for your when you do your research project actually. So we exclude those with ear infections, or either some certain congenital or certain hereditary conditions, right? So this is then we have the sample size. We need to specify the number of participants we are taking in our research project. So we need to specify it from right now. And the sample size calculation, I'm gonna walk you all through a hands-on, a very beginners friendly website called OpenAPI, and we're gonna calculate for proportion, which is for certain categorical variables. For example, occurrence, frequency, prevalence. So things like these categorical variables can be present in the form of proportion as an outcome, and we can, we will be calculating sample size in the proportion through OpenAPI. But yeah, stay tuned for that. Then we have the sampling technique. So where let me just. Yeah, the sampling technique, you need to mention that how you are going to take participants. Are you taking them randomly? Are you taking them with convenient level? We usually take conveniently, like whoever comes and we take them. Like if we are talking about type 2 diabetes mellitus patient, we went to the OPD, and for example, and we were sitting there, and whoever patient came, we just took their history, and we we took the consent and then we took them in our research. So this is the sampling technique. And again, you will have to, refer to a mentor. For example, they'll show you what, suits your research specifically. Then we have data collection. So data collection tools, we have questionnaires, we have interviews. You need to identify them first, and then you have to write them that these tools I'm using for my research, right? So for cross-section, you use questionnaire, interviews, you can use lab tests, etc. as well. For example, we did a study for autism spectrum disorder, and we had to go through certain, phenotypes, and those phenotypes had a standard questionnaire called BAPQ, that is Broad Autism Phenotype Questionnaire. So we just, took that questionnaire, and then we just cite it as well in our research proposal that, okay, this is the questionnaire that we are taking in. So you have to write that thing in the data collection part. So then we have data analysis, and data analysis is basically you just need to like write it that, okay, I'm going to use, for example, SPSS. These are statistical tools, and you need to add some softwares, for example, SPSS, or you can use R, or you can use RevMin for your particular study. If you're whatever you are using exactly, you have to write it here. Your example data will be analyzed using SPSS, and we will be looking at frequencies. So frequencies will be tested through chi-square test. We can use certain other tests like t-test. We have ANOVA test, etc. as well. So that depends upon your research. Whatever you are doing, you need to mention it. And we had a very good a session and lineup with the data analysis, and I must recommend all of you to join that. We had SPSS hands-on and SPSS or RevMin and all the important aspects at the basic level. So you can join that in the next webinar, inshallah, which is going to be by Muhammad Maaz bin Zahid, inshallah. So you can he's a very fine researcher of KFC. So yes, you can learn a lot. Then we have the same sample size calculation. We're going to walk through it, but in the end, right, we just wanted to complete our proposal writing. So then we have ethical consideration. I think we had the last session wholly and solely we talked about ethical considerations. We need to identify certain for the potential ethical issues, even before starting, right? And then even if you consider them, you need to write them in your proposal that, okay, we are in consideration of all those ethical issues. For example, you have to keep in check that, okay, the participants were informed, they have they are given us consent. So you need to write that also. You need to be precise about the confidentiality, and you need to be very careful anything that can reveal the identity of any certain particular participants. You need to avoid that, and you need to add that okay, we are going to use this way, so that confidentiality is basically preserved. Then ethical approval from IRAP board. We had a very good session coming up by Sunnia, Anusha on it, so you will be able to see how we can go through it. Then voluntary participation, you give voluntary participation to everyone who wants to join. They can join. If they want to leave, they can leave. Then risk and benefit, you do not want or harm anyone in this particular, either socially, economically, or any way. Even if you're doing a case report, you need to pay for whatever test you want for your study. For example, you want ultrasound, you do not want them to pay for that, you will have to pay. So this is risk benefit assessment that you have to keep in check. And then proper data use and storage, that how am I using that data? You need to specify to the participants in the consent as well that I'm using that data from a particular study, and it will be preserved up to this level, it will be published up to this level. So that's all. Then special care for vulnerable population. We need to care for certain, specific population as well. And right to withdraw anytime, as I said, voluntary participation, avoidance of coercion or under influence, and then anonymity in reporting results, right? We won't give names to our, we can actually give some coding words. So that is how anonymous it should be. Then in the last session, I was, looking at the chart, and Dr. Jahan, came up with this good points that I really wanted to show it to all of you as well. That fake data and cooked data, this is the #1 unethical practice in medical students and doctors these days, and I think I agree with it. everybody just, if the questionnaires are, like less, or they're not up to the sample size, they just, cooked the data and then they put it, and then they're like, okay, nobody cares and nobody would know. But this is very unethical, and we need to keep in check that can make our results very vague, or that can make our results wrong, right? Then we have second one is guest authorship. That is the most common thing going on for specifically for people who are interested in residency, foreign residency. So they take these guest authorships, and so yeah, this is a very controversial issue. Then okay, so then we have these timelines. So you need to, as I said in the earlier of my session, that we need to be giving every single detail, that how are we going to, going for our research project, and that is basically a timeline. So you provide a very proposed or estimated timeline for the completion of your project. And a best example is that you can use Gantt charts. You can use Excel, and you can enter the data. For example, okay, the start of literature review from June, and then end date will be this. Then you can say the other thing, head proposal, IREB approval with this date. Then we will be collecting data from this date to this date. So you just put the data in the Excel, and then with the help of certain tools, you can just make the Gantt chart, and then you can add this in your proposal as well, right? So this is the timeline. Then we are in your last thing, that is references. So references are basically the source of information that you have used in your research proposal. That includes research books, articles, websites. You can use websites, as I said. It makes your introduction quite good when you use certain statistics and specified values. So that are from websites different. So if you cite them, that's more good, right? You need to cite them if you're using their data. Right, then this is basically specifically for your background and your rationale, a part of your introduction. So so these things will come in your literature review part as well. Sunnia will go through all these details as well, but I'll just give you an overview, or certain tips how to use references. This part of, I think, research nobody teaches anyone, I think, and I think this is also certain beginners wants to know and wants to learn, right? So then obviously these references can give credibility to your work and help readers trace the origin of the ideas and the findings as well. So certain tools, certain styles that you can use in the referencing for your research, commonly used are APA, that is Vancouver, Howard, AMA. So all of these we can use. Then a certain time we need a particular style, and those are not available somewhere or something. So we can use certain softwares like Mendeley, Zotero, EndNote, Google Scholar. These are used for reference management, and they'll help your particular type of style to be there for your research. Then we had there are certain tips for you to use credible and up-to-date resources, and this is a very important point. Then be consistent with your reference style as well, right? That is it, I think, about my presentation. If there's any question, you can keep it in the chat box. We'll answer it later. Right now, we'll move quickly through a sample size calculation through OpenAPI, right? So if you want to do a hands-on, you can do it alongside me, right? Let me just share my screen. Right. So now you have to put open API. And this is a very beginners friendly, I think, website or software for sample size calculation. We have WHO calculator as well. We can use that as well. But, for beginners, the formula, everything is over there. And I talked about in the start that we are going to calculate one per proportion that is used for categorical variables, for example, occurrence, frequency. And I had a request, yesterday about to use it for some CAP studies. CAPs are knowledge, attitude, and practice studies that are usually cross-sectional, and we use outcome as proportion for it, right? So if we take an example, for example, we need to check CAP, that is knowledge, attitude, and practice among medical students regarding COVID-19. So so in the left side of the screen, you can see all these options. You need to go to the sample size, right? This is the sample size. Now you need to go to the proportion, right? So this thing will come. Then we have to enter our data. Yeah, we have to click on the enter. So these are the options that will be there. The first thing is population size. You keep the population size 1 million as for a certain type of studies when the population is actually 1 million or it's greater than 1 million. So you keep it 1 million. If it's like less than 1 million or not very prevalent, diseases or not very prevalent conditions, then you can calculate it from your literature review and then you can put it here. So, but usually it is like 1 million. You keep it as 1 million. Then this is the anticipated frequency. So, and this is very important part. The only thing that you have to put here is this anticipated frequency called p-value. So you need to have a very good literature review. You need to went through, you went through certain good literature review, as I said in the introduction, and then you find a study, for example, for this COVID-19 study, you find that a certain study in India has done this COVID-19 paper or research, and they found the prevalence to be like, for example, the prevalence was 45%. So that you will have to give reference to that study also, that you took this frequency or this anticipated frequency from that particular study, and also you have to now we put the 45% here. You keep this confidence limit as 5%. Some people can go for like 7 as well, but it's going to make your it is going to make your error more greater, so you need to keep it with 5, and you do not touch this one as well. Then 45, let's calculate it. Yeah, there you go. We have our sample size here with us. This is sample size for frequency in a population of 1 million we talked about. Then we had like 5% of that margin of error. Then this is for different confidence interval, we have sample size here with us, but usually we go for like 95% confidence interval. You do not, this is the most standard level or standard way, and so this is basically R381, and a certain good researcher will always give you this advice that always add up 10 more with the sample size of yours if certain thing happened that questionnaires were not used appropriately, or questionnaires were wasted or stuff. So you have a certain backup that okay, our sample size can be reached. So this is how you calculate it, I think. And with that being said, I think I am done with my whole presentation. Thank you very much for listening to me. And if you have any question in your head, you can ask me in the chat box. I'm going to answer it in the end. Also, you can ask me in the live, comment section as well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sundus, for an amazing session on research proposal. Now in this session, the second speaker is Sunnia Shah, and her presentation would focus on the literature search and how to do a literature review. So over to you, Sunnia.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much, Shahir, for the nice
Salam.
introduction. I'll share my screen. Okay. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, so the topic of my presentation is literature search. So let's get started. It's a very important topic for your research, and you all should know how to conduct a literature search. And it is important because whenever you start your research, so the first thing is that you select your topic of interest, right? You selected your topic of interest, so now what you have to do next? So the next thing which you will be doing is that you'll start thinking about this question, that whether someone else have done a research on the same topic as mine or a topic related to mine. So for that reason, you have to go and search the literature and search the already published articles. And how can you do that? I'm going to explain it to you. I'll try to explain it in very easy and simple words. So now let's do it. You all should know that when you go and you search the already published articles, so that articles, when you find out which are related to your topic, so they make the foundation of your research, because you will be needing them, you'll be using them before the start of your research or during writing of your paper. So if your foundation is weak, your literature search is weak, then your study will be weak. So let's level up your search game and let's see that what we learned today. So by the end of this lecture, you will know how to describe a literature search, what is the importance of literature search in your research, and I'll also tell you about the sources where you can find up these published research articles, and we'll develop a search strategy for your literature search, and we'll also formulate a research string, a search string on PubMed, and that will be hands-on practice, and that will be very interesting. Okay, so by definition, a literature search is a process of finding and collecting published information on specific topic, and that topic is your own topic which you are interested in finding an answer to by doing research. And the sources includes academic databases like Google, search engines, and books, journals, and other research studies, which I'll be explaining. So before starting your literature search, you all should know that why is it important? You are searching the literature, you are searching for already published articles based on your specific topic, but why are you conducting this literature search? So you all should know that what is the importance of literature search, even then you can do an effective literature search, right? So to identify the existing knowledge and describe the background of your research. So first of all, you need to know that are there any research articles published on the same topic or on the topic related to mine. So in this way, you'll get a background of what is already done on this topic which you are interested in. And while writing your research article, you have to give a background about your topic, and you have to write the introduction part. And for that, you also need articles related to your research. And how can you find those articles? By doing an effective literature search. And I'll be explaining it further, and I'll be telling you the tips and tricks as well. How can you conduct this literature search? So it also helps you to formulate a clear, focused, and researchable question. So most of the times, some people know the exact topic they want to conduct their research on, but sometimes people know the area they're interested in, any area of research they want to do a research on that, but they have not formulated a clear and focused question. So if you go and you search up the already published articles or you search the literature, you also get an idea that, okay, these research papers have taken these variables or these points, and they have conducted their research on this, suppose in anywhere in the world, and I can also take these points and conduct my research, suppose over here in your country or in your city. So in this way, you can also take help from those published articles, right? Okay, so this literature search also will help you recognize research gaps. This is a very important point, because if you are conducting a research, suppose on one aspect of hypertension, right, and you search the literature and you do not find any articles related to that, so it means that there is a gap of literature, and hence you can conduct your research on that topic, and in this way you will cover the gap and your research study will be unique. You can also refine your methodology by going through the literature and by going through the already published articles. So in this way, suppose if you are not aware about certain questionnaires, the pre-validated questionnaires, and you look up for research articles and they have used a specific questionnaire, so you can also take an idea from there that okay, I can also use that questionnaire, suppose, and you can refine your methodology by taking help from those research articles. You can also avoid duplication by going through the literature. For example, if you want to conduct your research on a specific topic in Peshawar, and you go up and you search the literature and you find the exact same topic, the exact same research conducted in the exact same area, so there's no need to waste your time on that topic, and there's no need to move forward with that research, because that will be duplication. It also literature search also supports argumentation by citing the articles, and the comparison of your data and results in the discussion part of your research. These are actually the same points. What happens is that when you write your research articles, so at the end of the research article, you have to write your discussion part, and in that part, you have to compare your results with that of the already present research articles or already present literature. So for that, you have to find out the specific research articles. So how can you find that out? By literature search. So this is a very important step in your research, and you should know all the tips and tricks and all the information regarding the literature search, because if you find the exact same topics related to your research articles related to your article, so then that will give you a very strong base. Now, these are the sources. Where can you go and find out these research articles or the already published data? So we have different sources, we have different databases. So we have PubMed. It is a very important and database, and on PubMed we get research articles related to medicine. It is free. How you'll access to PubMed? You'll go to your Google, just search PubMed, and when you'll find the first link, just click on that and you'll get an access to PubMed. Then, and I'll also be explaining how you can use PubMed at the end of this session. We also have Google Scholar. It's also free. This is also a very good database, and you can also go to Google, type Google Scholar, and just click on the first link. You'll get an access to Google Scholar. You can search different articles on it. On Google Scholar, you will have access to articles related to any field: medicine, science, arts, and that. Cochrane Central is also a very important database. It's also free, but you can get the full access through your institution, because only the abstracts on Cochrane are free. Then we have Scopus. It's not free. You can get access to this database through your institution. You can also search the research articles on different journals, like online as well. There are different books. If you get a certain reference from any book, you can cite that as well. Now, gray literature. So gray literature is that literature which is not published. So then why do we need gray literature? So sometimes we need to give up-to-date information. For that, we use gray literature, and you can find it from thesis or dissertations that are not published, or government websites if you need any figures. Okay, so this is a screenshot of the PubMed. I wanted you to get familiar with this interface. So I'll be explaining how you can use this. You can search your topic over here, and how you're going to search it, I'll explain it to you. And then you can use different filters. These are the different articles which you can see. And this is the Google Scholar interface. So you can also search it in the same way. You can use filters. This is Cochrane Library. These are just screenshots so that you know that there are different sources on which we can search our literature. This is BMJ Journal Preface, so you can also search your articles in different journals as well if you find the need of. Now, coming towards a very important step, which is the literature search strategy. Now you have the first step on finding in conducting your research is to select your topic. Once your topic is selected, now what to do next? The next part is literature search. Now, how are you going to do that literature search? You have to go very strategically, and this is the strategy you should know. So, okay. This is the strategy that you should know. Okay, so first of all, you should be familiar with the keywords, and then we have the Boolean operators. So I'll be explaining what these are, but you should know these terminologies. So the Boolean operators are actually the magic words and, or, and not. You have to use all of these, the wildcards and the filters and the phrases. You have to use all of these in order to develop a search string. So what actually a search string is, it is actually whatever you type in the title in the search bar of your database, that is a search string. So you should not go and randomly type your keywords or randomly type your topic, but you should develop a search string using different wildcards, Boolean operators, and mesh words. And what are those? I'm going to explain it in a while. But by using all of these, we develop a search string, and then we search, and then we find out the articles, and then we use them accordingly. So first of all, we have to select our topic. So here I have given you an example. For example, if I want to start a research, I want to know, I'm curious about this thing, that is there any impact of lifestyle changes on blood pressure control in hypertensive patients? Okay, I have selected this topic and I want to go forward and conduct my research on this. So first of all, my topic should be according to the PICO question. So P stands for the population, I is for intervention, C is for comparison, and O is for outcome. So in this way, my topic will be selected, which I want to find out the impact of lifestyle changes on blood pressure control in hypertensive patients. I'm very clear that I want to move forward with this topic, okay? Now, the next step is that I'll make some keywords using my topic. So I have made some keywords. Suppose I have mentioned blood pressure and hypertensive patients, right? These are the hypertensive patients are my population. So from hypertensive patients, I've made two keywords, hypertension and high blood pressure. And where am I going to use these keywords? By formulating a search string, and by using these, I will search different articles related to my topic, right? So I have here made two keywords, hypertension and high blood pressure. So the need to make different keywords is that what if one research study or one research article have used the word hypertension and the other one high blood pressure. So in my search string, if I use both these keywords, hypertension and high blood pressure, so I will get a very good and effective search, and I'll get a number of articles. I will not miss, there are chances that I don't miss articles related to my topic. In the same way, for lifestyle modifications, I have made the keywords lifestyle, diet, exercise, weight loss, and so on. And standard care and the usual care is what you compare. For example, I compare my lifestyle. If there's no lifestyle changes, so then the other way we have is the standard or usual care. Then we have blood pressure control or BP control. See, here again, I have made the same. They mean the same, but these are different words, because what if one research article has used one keyword and the other article have used another? So I want both these articles in my search so that I can use them accordingly. Now, the Boolean operators are and, or, and not. These are very important while using it in your search string because they will give you a very nice search, and will broaden up your research, or will also, and not will make your search focused, will keep it focused. So we have to use these in our research. And how are you going to use them? I am going to show it to you. I'm going to perform in the hands-on practice. Now we have very important concept here, which is the mesh words. So what actually are the mesh words? They stand for medical subject headings, and these are standardized medical vocabulary. So in our search string and in our research article, while making the keywords, we have to keep in our mind that we use the mesh words. So these are standardized medical vocabulary, and databases like PubMed uses these. So what is the importance of mesh words? So It is important because these are standardized medical words. So if we use these words in our search string or in our research article, there are high chances that we do not miss research articles, and we get a very nice literature search. And how are you going to know that if this word or this term is a mesh word or not? So you have to go to Google, PubMed, and when you scroll down in PubMed, so on the right side, I'm going to show it to you as well, but on the right side, we'll see the term mesh words written over there. You click over there, you search your word or your term in the search bar, and if it pops up there, it means that it's a mesh word. For example, if I write hypertension over there, so I'll see the word hypertension defined over there, so it means that hypertension is a mesh word. But if I write high blood pressure, so it's not. So what I'll recommend is, and what it is recommended, that you should use the word hypertension in your search string along with high blood pressure as well, but hypertension should be there. And also you should use these mesh words in the keywords of your research article, so that if other people also do the literature search, they also get your research article. Now we have a very interesting concept here, which is the wildcards. So these are the little tips and tricks which can make your literature search very effective. So we have the aesthetics. So this will help you to broaden up the results of your study. So I can explain it with the help of this example, which is, for example, if I write diabet and this asterisk sign, so all the articles that have used the word diabetes, diabetic, and diabetics will pop up to my search, and I'll be able to go through them, and my literature search will be widened, it will be broadened. So instead of writing all these three words in my search string, if I write only a simple symbol, so it will do this work and it will make it easier. So it is highly recommended, and we use all these wildcards in formulating a research string. Now we have a question mark sign over here as well, which is also wildcard. So for example, if I write woman instead of the A or E, I write a question mark. So all the articles that have used the word woman or women, so I'll get all those articles, and my search results will be broadened. You should keep in your mind that all the databases do not use the same wildcards, so you should go to the search guide of the databases, and over there you can see that are these wildcards used by this specific database or not. Then we have the phrases. For example, we have the phrase high blood pressure. So if we want the full term high blood pressure written together in an article, we want articles that have used the word high blood pressure all together, so we'll use the quotation marks, right? Now that you know about the mesh terms, the keywords, the wildcards and phrases, so we'll use all of those and we will develop a search string, right? So the search string is developed by using the Boolean operators, which are and, or not, and the wildcards and the phrases. So here you can see that, and where should I type the search string? You should go to the database, and in the search bar, you should type the search string, right? So over here, I'll just tell you orally that how I have done this, and I will type the exact same search string in PubMed, and then we'll see the results. So I have written hypertense with an asterisk. So it means that I need all the research articles that have used the word hypertension, hypertensive, right? With or high blood pressure in the quotation marks, which means that I need articles that have written hypertension or that have used high blood pressure, right? So I'll get all those articles. Then I have written the word and, the Boolean operator and. It means, and then I've written all the lifestyle modifications, which is lifestyle or diet or exercise or physical activity and so on. So all the articles that have used the word hypertension or high blood pressure and lifestyle modification or diet or exercise, so I'll get those research articles. And I've separated again with the Boolean operator and blood pressure control or BP control, because this is the outcome. So in this way, we develop a search string, and when we search the articles, we will get thousands of articles on the same topic. And if you do not use the search string properly, your results will be haphazard. But for example, if you use the proper search string and you get a number of results, now what to do next? You can use the filters in the databases. For example, there are filters for ears and all those. I'll show it to you in a while. And then you can save the articles as well. You should read the abstract, and then you can use it accordingly with references. And you can use, for what reason you have to use it, all the reasons that I've explained in the importance part. Now, there comes this question that why is my literature search not effective? Why am I not getting the articles of my choice? So there can be a number of reasons. If you are using overly broad topic or unclear topic, for example, instead of all the search string, you just write hypertension, you're not focusing on the same topics and variables that you want to use. So your literature search will not be effective, right? If you're using weak or inconsistent keywords, if you're not using the mesh words, for example, if you're not using the Boolean operators, or you're using the wrong or limited database, if you're just sticking to one database and the wrong database, so your search may not be effective. And if you're not using filters or limits, in that case also your search will not be effective. And you have to keep these points in your mind as well, because in that way you can practice and you can do an effective literature search. Now let's do hands-on practice. And okay, so now let's go and see how you can search the search on the PubMed. Is it clear? If someone can tell me that, can you see the PubMed?
No, we cannot.
पबमेड नहीं नजर आ रहा। आप स्क्रीन शेयरिंग बंद कर दे, उसके बाद दोबारा ऑन कर दे, पबमेड पे चली जाए।
Okay, okay. I'll do it like that. Now, can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's practice our search string, which we have started now. And how are you going to get this interface of PubMed? You should go to Google, you type PubMed, you search, you click on the first link, and then you'll get this search bar. So first of all, let me tell you where you can find the mesh words. So the mesh database are present here. You scroll a little, and to the right, you can click the mesh database. You can see that you'll get a search bar like this. So I'll type hypertension in order to see that is it a mesh word or not. So I get the word hypertension over here. It means that this is a mesh word. So I can use this mesh term as my keyword. If I write high blood pressure, so if I write high blood pressure, so I will not get any result. It means that high blood pressure is not a mesh term, right? In order to know more about these mesh terms, you can watch this YouTube video over here as well. And I would suggest to watch it over here. Because of the shortage of time, I cannot explain more, but you can watch this video and it will help you know more about the mesh terms. Okay, now coming towards making the search string. So you can also log in to your PubMed over here. So it will unlock more features for you, like saving the research articles and saving the search string as well. Okay, now come here towards the advanced setting. So you will see that you get a search bar like this, and over here you can see that you get to use the Boolean operators. Now let's quickly search the search string, which I have explained it to you. So that was high blood pressure, for example, suppose hypertension. So I'm going to use these quotation marks, high blood pressure. Practically, you can do it like this. So now I want high blood pressure and hypertension both to be included, either high blood pressure or hypertension. So I'll use or. and enter. So you can see that we get high blood pressure over here. Now we are going to write hypertension. Okay, instead of writing hypertension, if we write hypertense with an asterisk, so what we'll get is that we'll get we can get the results of hypertension and hypertensive like this. The Boolean operator here is OR, so we can enter. Now we should change it to and write our other terms, and you can see that these brackets are also over here. So these are used for joining the same terms as well. So now we are going to write the lifestyle modification, suppose so lifestyle. So instead of lifestyle modification, I can use the asterisk sign, so it will include lifestyle modifications and all of those. The Boolean operator is AND, so if I click AND, so we are developing the search string using the Boolean operators. Now if I write diet, another lifestyle modification, right? And now I'm going to use the word or, because lifestyle modification or diet, right? We can now write exercise. Okay. So the search string is developing, and we can see that we'll get research articles using either if they have used lifestyle or diet or exercise. Apart from that, we can also write the word weight loss. So I've used, okay. Now we can go up and add another, suppose blood pressure control, if we have in the research string, which I explained it to you. So I am going to use blood. Okay, I am using the quotation marks over here because I want this as a single term, right? So this is now the search string, which I explained it to you. We have used the Boolean operators, we have used the wildcards. So now we are going to search on our PubMed. So you can see that we got 106 results. This is because my filters are on. Okay. Okay, so now without the filters, we get 1736 results as a result of this search string. You can also get results up to lakhs or thousands as well. Okay, now how can we use all these filters? You can use the filters over here by using this timeline. For example, now I got 744 results from the year 2016 to 2025. You can also use a filter of this publication date. For example, I want the research articles which are published in the last 5 years. I got 400 results. They are narrowing down. So the filters are very important, and it is better to use up-to-date research articles. You can also use these filters, for example, if you need free full text link, because there are certain articles whose full text is not free. See, it's narrowing down 315 results. You can also filter down the article type and the language and all of these. So this is how you use the filters. Now, suppose coming towards our articles over here, so you will quickly read the title of the articles, and from that you will get to know that, okay, this article is related to mine, or I am interested in reading this research article. For that purpose, initially you can also save these articles over here. You can save it by using this option. You can also save it by using create alert option. There are a number of these options. I want you all to practice it yourself, because there are a lot of details involved. So now coming towards, now these 314 results, suppose, are the results that you get as a result of your literature search. Now what to do next? You have to go to a research article. Suppose I click on this research article. So you can read the abstract, and when you read the abstract, you can use it in different ways. You can cite the article, you can cite it by clicking over here. You can give the reference, you can copy it. This is the referencing details. You can click it, you can go to the free text as well, and you can read the conclusion, the methodology part over here, or in the full text, and then you can include it in your research. So in this way you get these articles and you do the literature search. So that was it from my side. I briefly explained how you can use the PubMed, but I'll suggest you guys go and just practice all the that how you develop a search string. And for that, I'll suggest that you write your keywords, add the Boolean operators, and then search. And the more you practice, the more you'll be good at it. So that's it from my side. And thank you so much, everyone. So if you have any questions, you can just type it in the text box, or you can at the chat box, or you can ask it in the end. So thank you so much. Over to you, Shahir.
Thank you, Sunnia Shah, for the amazing session on now we will go to our last session. And the speaker of this session is Anusha Azhar, and the topic of the session is ethical review and how to get an ethical review and IRB approval. Now over to you, Anusha.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Just give me a minute. Okay. Let me share my presentation. Shahid, is it visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, so the last topic of the day is IREP approval. We had some wonderful presentations by my colleagues, and I'm sure you guys are a bit tired, so I'll keep it short and concise. But this is a very important topic, and a lot of students do not know about it. So just start. First of all, I would be explaining what IREP stands for. Then we will find out the different responsibilities of this board and committee. And finally, we will see how do we end up getting an IREP approval for our study. And finally, I will also show you guys the IREP forms. So IREP is a short form. It's an acronym basically for the Institutional Review and Ethics Board. Now, depending on the institute or the hospital you are from, this name might slightly vary. So it mostly, internationally, it is known as the IRB board, which is just Institutional Review Board. In some hospitals, there is only an ethical committee. And just for example, in our college, it is both of these committees are combined and it forms the IRB. So the name might vary, but it will encompass the same responsibilities and duties. So this is something that you should keep in mind as we move forward. Now, the primary goal, basically, I wrote the summary in the first slide, and I will explain this further, and you will understand this by the end of this research. But let's just go through it. The primary goal of the IREP the main thing is that it protects the rights and welfare of human participants. So I will explain this further, but first we need to know about the key responsibilities of IREP. Over here, I've only shared the 6 most important. There are definitely more, but these are the ones that you should be focusing on. First, as I said, it is to protect the human participants. Now, this protection is in the form of physical protection, mental protection, and social protection. So, for example, physically, let's suppose you are carrying out a clinical drug trial. So, you need to ensure that your participants are protected physically. This also involves animal studies, studies that are conducted on animals, but we mostly focus on human participants. IREP ensures that towards the end of your study, when you are about to publish it and you get the results, that in the larger run, your research is benefiting the general masses more than the risk it is incurring on the patients along the way. So this is something that the ethical committee will judge. It's a very delicate scale because in each research, somehow there can be minute risks involved. but there also have to be benefits that outweigh these risks. And the final judge of this scale is the IREP committee. Now, my colleague Sundus did talk briefly about the importance of consent and confidentiality, but I would like to elaborate on that. One of the main purposes of IREP is to ensure that you take the consent in a proper informed manner, that is a written consent, and that you maintain the confidentiality of your human participants for their mind of ease as well. They also ensure that you are complying with the latest ethical standards. This is because, let's suppose your study gets approved and published, right? And somebody wants to replicate the methodology. To ensure that all of your methodology and all of your procedures were in line with the latest ethical guidelines, IREP has to assure themselves that you are using all the latest guidelines and there is no breach of confidentiality. They also make sure that there are no conflict of interest. This is to ensure the scientific validity. Now, for those of you who do not know what conflict of interest is, let me briefly explain. Let's suppose conflict of interest basically shows that the researcher who is conducting that research, they make sure that they don't have a personal agenda of their own while they are conducting the research, and it is solely for the purpose of benefiting the public. So I'll give you an example. For example, there is a pharmaceutical company and they have launched a drug. Okay, in the market they have launched a new drug, and there are very few studies being conducted on it, and we do not know about the overall performance of them. So what that pharmaceutical company does is that they carry out drug trials on this particular drug, and they make sure, or the results are coming out to be that the performance value of this particular drug is better than all the other drugs in the market. Now, before they conduct this study, obviously they will get the IREP approval for it, and when the board will see that the researchers themselves are promoting a drug that they themselves have produced or the research company has produced, that results in a conflict of interest, because we do not know about the validity of those results. Whether those results were biased in any way, we cannot tell, as the researcher also has a personal agenda in publishing of those and carrying out those researches. Besides this, IREP also is responsible for promoting research in an authentic manner and in increasing the public trust. There's also another factor that is not always in mind of researchers, is that sometimes you have to change your methodology. Along the way, something does not work out, and there have to be made slight variations in the collection of data. For that, you have to again go through the process of IREP approval and they basically make sure that the new changes that you are making are in compliance with the latest ethical standards. Now, this is an interesting fact because not everyone knows, at least when we were studying research, we did not know that we thought everyone needs an IREP approval. You know, this is how we were taught: to select a title, to make a proposal, to get the IREP approval and start your data collection. However, there is certain criteria that needs to be met for this. So we'll be seeing that. First of all, the main criteria is that if your research involves human participants or animal participants, I've not mentioned, but mainly we focus on human participants, you need an IREP approval. Okay, there is no other way you can move around it. There are no backdoors for this. Now, the research that human participants that you are, it can be directly or indirectly the data collection methods. For example, indirect data collection, you collect the data. Let's suppose your study area is the hospitals or schools, and you go directly, you interact with these patients or these school children, and you collect the data. This is primary form collection of data. Even if you are collecting the data in secondary form, you still need to get an IREP approval. Now, by secondary form, I mean, for example, if you are directly picking up the data from the hospitals, hospital records, or the registries, and you're not interacting with the participant, you still need an IREP approval. As long as you have data that can easily identify a patient, you need to get the ethical approval for that. That also includes surveys and Google Forms and any e-forms that you are generating. So it doesn't always have to be direct contact with the patient or the participant themselves. Research involving vulnerable groups. Now, what do I mean by vulnerable groups? Vulnerable groups include children, the pregnant ladies, very old, and the prisoners. These groups are very important because these groups cannot themselves understand what they're going through. They can give you an informed consent, but they still do not know exactly. They might be mentally challenged or in state of distress, and they cannot tell whether the research in the end is going to harm them or not. This is why there is a special ethical approval for these type of groups, involving these groups, to ensure that their safety and dignity is maintained throughout the research. Clinical research over here refers to clinical drug trials, and biomedical research is any research that uses human remains, for example, human body parts, their blood, etc. Now, this next point is going to cover the IRAB approval and make it mandatory for most of the audience today. That is, any students who are conducting their thesis or dissertation, basically any students who are in an institution and they're carrying out their research projects will need to get an ethical approval. Similarly, this next point is mainly for large clinical trials or researches in which there usually government funding is done. There is an ethical oversight required for that. And finally, this is a very important point. Even if the first few points are not being covered in your research, if you are planning to publish your findings, most of the journals, most of the good journals at least, require an IRAB approval. So it is very important to keep it in mind. And I always tell people that it's better to be on the safer side and get an IRAB approval instead of trying to dodge it, because in the end it will also increase the quality of your research and ensure that the methodology section at least is in an authentic and reproducible manner. However, there are a few exemptions. These are the common studies that I've listed over here for which you do not require an IRAB approval. We will go through them one by one because it is a bit tricky. So first of all, we have meta-analysis and systematic reviews. You do not need to get an IRAB approval for this. The reason for this is that meta-analysis is basically a study of studies, okay? And the studies that are under question over here are already, the data for that has already been published and it is publicly available for everyone. So for example, in meta-analysis, you are looking at clinical drug trials or other reviews that have already been published in various sources such as PubMed. And for those trials, people had already taken an ethical approval. So you don't need to go through that because you're not generating any new information, you're not carrying out any new analysis, and you're not interacting with patients in any form. Same is the case with literature review. My colleague also explained to you a bit. Literature review is basically, you remember it through three essays. It's the surveying, summarizing, and synthesizing of various articles that you find already on the web or different sources such as books and articles on a specific topic. So again, once again, you are not publishing it, you're not generating any new data, and you're not interacting with any patients directly. So you do not need to have an IRAB approval. Next, we have service audits and quality service projects. Now, the reason we don't need an IRAB approval for this is, first of all, in most of these service audits, we are not directly in contact with human participants. But even if you are, service audits are conducted to improve the quality of a procedure in the hospitals. You're not conducting them for the general masses. You're not in any way providing information for the public. You're not going to publish these findings anyway. This is just to improve the quality of your own institute. And that's why you do not need the IRAB approval for this. The final one I have noted down here is case reports. And this is a bit of a tricky one. That's why this is the last one that we're going to discuss. Now, in most, this depends case to case. In some journals, you do require IRAB approval for case reports as well. And they specifically ask for an email or the confidentiality forms as well. So you really need to go through the journal's guideline first to see if a case report requires, if they require IRAB approval for a case report. Similarly, in some hospitals, you can get away without getting an IRAB approval. And so they sometimes have a quality assurance guy, but for that, you do not need to go through the whole formal procedure of submitting the forms. And it is not as detailed or formal. But then again, this depends on your institute. So you have to, I would always recommend that you should be more cautious and get an IRAB approval rather than trying to dodge the system, or at least get to know your own institute's guidelines first. Case reports that have less than 3 people generally do not require you to get an IRAB approval, and especially case reports in which you are taking a confidentiality form from the patient themselves, you don't need it. Next, the main topic of today is how do I apply for IRAB approval? So I've tried to simplify the procedure for you guys. So the first step is that you check the institutional guidelines. Okay. Now, depending on whichever institute you're from, whether it's a college-based institute, whether you are affiliated with a hospital, you have to make sure that you go up and you read their guidelines properly. As everything that I've explained up till now is just a basic guideline. There can be differences in your there can be differences in the rules and regulations, and that's why you have to get affiliated with your own researcher and institute. So you can get the institutional guidelines, either you can directly meet with your ethical board directors, or you can check your online websites. There are often a subsection for the IREB approval and how do you get one. Next is that you prepare your application package. Now, there are a few things that you need in your application package, and I'll be talking about the stuff that at least we were required to give. First of all, you will need an IREB form that you can collect from your own institute. You have to fill that. Second, you need a proposal. You have to make a proposal first and then you submit it. My colleague Sundus already explained to you, so I hope you learned how to make a proposal. Then you will need your other forms. This includes your confidentiality form, especially if you are directly interacting with human participants. This will also need your questionnaires, your surveys, and your consent forms as well. So you basically need everything that you think your director will require to better understand how you're going to go about collecting the data. Then you submit the data and you wait for the errors. One thing I would like to tell you guys here, no matter how skilled you are, there are always minor revisions that are required because the IREB approval is a bit technical. So do not be disheartened if your research director is asking you to make a few revisions. Believe me, in the end, it is to improve the quality of your research. And in the long run, it will be more beneficial to you as well as the general masses. And finally, you get your approval form. Now, this approval form is very important, guys. So make sure that you take care of it, because in all future, every time you try publishing, you will require the approval form as well. So you have to take care of that. Now, the key takeaways over here, in case you guys do not remember, let's do quick important points. First of all, you have to get affiliated with your own institute's IREB, okay? Because the once again, I want to emphasize on the fact that the rules and regulations that I told you are for my institute, and your institute might be slightly different. So you need to make sure that you know about it for a smoother process. Then you need to make sure that your particular study design actually requires the approval. And you have to ensure that the research participants at every step of the way are protected and kept safe. And finally, you need to ensure that you're not in any haste and that before collecting the data, you actually get your IREB approval certificate. I would also like to give you guys a few examples of the forms. This is the IREB approval form of our college. Now, on the top left corner, you guys can see there is the DME number. This is very important. Some journals actually require you to directly put in the number. So you have to make sure you have this. On the top right corner, you can see the date. Then we have the principal investigator, the supervisor, the exact date it was issued, and the title of the research. In the end, I would like you guys to come over here. The last paragraph, it shows that now they're also emphasizing on the key point over here that you have to keep confidential all the personal information that you find, and that if you make any changes along the way, as I previously explained as well, if you're making any changes along the way, you need to make sure that your IREB committee is knows about those changes and approves, gives you another approval for that. On the left, you can see this is the chairman of our IREB committee. He is also given a sign in the end, and these are our members. They have all taken certification courses. This is another ethical form. I included this to tell you guys, look in the top left corner, it says ethical undertaking. This is for Shaukat Khanum Memorial Hospital. As I said, IREB does not go by the same name in every institute, so it can slightly differ. For example, in this hospital, their IREB is known as Ethical Committee. So over here again, they have the subject in they have their number, they have the subject, and then you confirm with all of these guidelines about their policies, and you make sure you can read it yourself as well. You make sure that you uphold the dignity and patient integrity of the research as well, and then in the end you write your name, date, designation, and everything. So this is all from my side. It was a short research, as you have already gone through 2 previous webinars, so I wanted to keep it short but informative. I hope you guys understood it, especially how to get the IRAB approval, because that is the most important part. And I believe now we will have a question answer session. So Shahid, if you would like to take over.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anusha, for the amazing session on IRF approval. Now, if हमारे पास अगर कोई सवाल हो तो आप एक सवाल था, I think it was answered in the chat box, that are the literature review publishable? तो वो यार सानिया ने उसको आंसर कर दिया था कि that there you can publish. इसके अलावा अगर किसी का कोई सवाल हो तो they can raise hand and they can also type in chat box.
I
So
think I would add to that literature review question as well. We had certain types of, certain types of studies known as narrative reviews, systemic reviews. So basically, in those type of studies, you only have to do literature review, and you have to either write it in systemic way, in systemic reviews, and you either have to write it in a very, generalized way in narrative review, and you can definitely publish it. They are very high quality researches.
perfect. So, okay, if anyone have any other question, they can ask. सबको समझ आ गई है?
I believe.
Okay, then let's okay. इसके अलावा on 7th August we will have another session. Let me share it. Okay. Yeah, 7th August. On 7th August, we have another session which will be collecting the right data, surveys, and tools and best practices. It will be by Arshman Javed and Vadan Azhar. इसके बाद फिर 9th August को अगला session होगा और 11th August को होगा last session. So make sure to join all of these. You will learn a lot. And also we have a research conference coming, I think in September or in October. Yeah, the date will be announced. So make sure to attend these conferences. और इसके अलावा अगर आप कभी भी कोई सवाल हो तो आप पूछ सकते हैं। बाकी उसके बाद भी आई थिंक द emails of the, हाँ, और एक और बात, those who have registered and paid for the course, they would be given the certificate, session recording, and research guide PDF at the end of this foundation research series.
I think we will let Dr. Jahan talk a bit about this session right now.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. I'm extremely happy to see my dearest 3 well-versed students of ours, Sundus, Anusha, Sunnia, Shah. Mashallah, आपकी presentation बहुत अच्छी थी. It was up to mark, and उस एंगल से मैं देख रहा था कि मुझे रिसर्च का नहीं पता तो मैं कैसे उसको लूंगा आपने उसमें, तो वो आप बिल्कुल स्टार्ट से ले रहे थे उसको. और आई थिंक you people made a great job to make it very easy and simplest word. Every जो आप लोगों ने 3 present उसमें divide किया है, that was a nice idea. And as I said in the initial time, that this webinar is very much important because it covers a lot. It covers a lot. जिस बंदे ने रिसर्च स्टार्ट करनी है, जिस तरह चाहे केस स्टडी हो या सिस्टमैटिक रिव्यू हो या कोई भी एनालिटिकल स्टडी हो, सो इसके लिए ये वेबिनार बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट था. So I'm sure that participant would have learned a lot. Thank you all, SRC, team SRC, and I was pleased to see some of the founding members of SRC as a participant, like my dear Dr. Saud, who was there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Means a lot, every word. Yes, Sarah.
Thank you so much, everybody. I just wanted to add that shuru mein to there was something going on, so I couldn't really focus. But in baad mein, it was just so fun to listen to everybody. And I feel like this is what SRC was for, a student research committee by the students and for the students. And I think this was the best example of by the students and for the students, because we have Sunnia, we have Sundus, we have Anusha, and it just went really well. And I feel like student को अच्छे तरीके से समझा सकता है, and because they know the problems that they faced and they're facing currently right now. So I feel like this was just this is what SRC is basically. So it was fun, and thank you so much everybody for joining in. And inshallah, we have 3 more left. And we're doing a good job. So I'm so proud of the entire team, and I'm so proud of the speakers and everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I think इसके साथ ही हमारा सेशन यहाँ पर एंड हो जाता है, and the
Yeah.
next session will be on 7th August. So thank you all for attending this session, and yeah, see you on 7th August.
Inshallah. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.
Bye, Allah.
Assalamualaikum.
Hello, guys.
Hello, congrats on the
Hi, everyone.
We did it.
Yes, we
Oh,
did it. You guys were so good, especially the
You guys were so good.
example.
I'm just so like, practice
Yeah.
and the ending was so good. Every presentation.
Yeah, their fully presentation of Sundus and Anusha. I'm so proud of you guys.
Momina will be the true judge because I feel like हम लोग तो वैसे भी सबको hype करते रहेंगे, but Momina, you need to tell us how bad we actually were. I feel like I was so nervous.
No, you were not.
Oh, you were so confident in this.
No, not told confident to send you somewhere. Yeah, you did explain all the things really well. I mean, I was listening because
Same, I had to search as well. It's good. This way we learned, like for the first time, I learned Sunnia wala how to use Boolean operators because God, I don't really use them. So I was paying attention as well. So yeah, and thank you so much, Momina and Shahir. He left, but thanks to them, it went smoothly as well. Guys, I had a small question. When we were presenting, was the last and the taskbar visible in my presentation?
Sanga.
अगर टास्क बार ची कमेंट की kana like लैपटॉप में जो होता है.
Na ako tatabay ka namang tako ba ni?
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm. If it was.
You have to shift it here and there. Our mom go shift ko like time
Okay.
like.
Sundus अभी the live stream awesome शुरू देखा बंद शुरू.
बंद का.
जमा वो लैपटॉप बंद है ज़खो